Yeah, Porcelain Tower is coming back in. They're running Spire of Ice as well. All that's coming back.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was giving you the floor. I feel like I was talking a lot, so I figured I'd let you kind of go on about
Oh, sorry. I
it.
I totally yeah, I spaced out there.
You're good. You're good. I teed that up for you quickly. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good. All right, welcome back, everybody. Good evening. Episode 22 of the Leonis Report. This number just keeps getting higher and higher. Time flying by, and each one getting better, hopefully. JB, how's things going tonight, man?
Had a good weekend. My wife and I celebrated our anniversary, so got to go out in the city. Went to the North End, Boston.
Best.
Got some amazing Italian food and had a great night. So,
I hope so.
how about you?
Good. If you said anything but Italian food from the North End, I was about to
Oh,
check
it's
you and
gotta
be
be.
like, dude, anniversary? What are you thinking? No, it was good. Another pretty low-key weekend overall. Honestly, just caught up on some sleep, did some gaming. It's just been a very low-key summer, so kind of just riding it out, and that's it. Back to work, back to Mondays.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy Monday today. I was catching up on a bunch of stuff that came in over the weekend for work. So
Yep.
glad to just kind of relax here tonight and talk about the game a little bit.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. So just covering what we're going to do tonight, and a very fun preview. Two things to mention. One in particular, we're doing something different with the War Room tonight. We're going to do a live PvP battle, or not live, it's pre-recorded at this point, but a live battle, and talk about the map, the strategies, some of the decision making, really get into more of the X's and O's of what we're thinking. And then we do want to get into potentially a TMR tier list. Not tonight, but JB and I have started thinking about it. It's a very complicated discussion, a lot of asterisks on everything, but someone asked a question about it. It's a good topic to discuss. It just requires some extra thought and framing. So we're going to do that next time, not tonight, but definitely something to look forward to. And in the meantime, we got a bunch of news. Dark Shiva, we already covered her last week. We have the new Elena card, though, that's unique that they're rolling out. They have a couple things for PvE with Tower coming back. And, we'll talk about Realmscourge Event and all that. And then the Leonis Spire Port, I think, is where we'll have the most fun with Final Fantasy VIII and Gryfford and a whole bunch of stuff. So we're not getting ahead of ourselves. You pulled Jayden. I also pulled Jayden. He's got that boosted banner rate this week. They're continuing it. Have you been okay with Jayden so far or no?
Yeah, I thought that was weird that they kind of pointed that out because it's like, why would you change the banner for the second week? So it was okay, fine, it's still there.
Yeah.
But I did find that a lot of people were hitting that even on tickets, on the Mindsphere polls, on the 300 paid poll. A lot of people getting them really early. I'm sure that unfortunately some people out there probably didn't get so lucky. So sorry for you, but overall, feeling the good pull rate there was pretty nice. I just did one run through to the soft biddy.
Yep.
So it was like 10 or 12K or whatever.
Can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
Managed to get them. So
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that they did with the boosted rate. Obviously, we're hoping they do that for the more characters in demand, if you will. I don't think everyone's very excited, but this is a great arena week for him, actually. This is a very interesting map. I've had some fun with him so far in arena today. Free match, 5 times metal. You must be excited. Now you can work on something other than platinum armor at this point.
yeah, I'm kind of slowly picking away at the Hermes sandals now, but I kind of lost a bit of my vigor once I finished the platinum armor. I'm not going in there as religiously. It was kind of a wait, once that was completed.
Oh, yeah.
But I definitely agree on the arena map. It's seems to be definitely designed with Jayden in mind, with some of the range heights and kind of how the map works in his tunes. So
Yeah.
I remember seeing videos when he was released, and he did pretty well on this map. The limited guild battle map, I haven't seen him do quite as well there in just kind of limited testing, but I also don't have him maxed out yet. I'm kind of slim on antlers at the moment, and I don't want to buy any, so he's just kind of staying put at 115 for now and soon to be 120.
It's fine. Definitely no rush to build him. I think the game balance is fine without him in the meantime. But, Gumi did do some good things this week with the Road to Worldwide, at least on a positive light. In addition to that boosted banner, which we kind of knew it was coming, that one that kind of shoehorned in. But they did seem to restore the Viz bundle of the 2K paid, where it's now back to 80 shards, where it hadn't been the past couple weeks. That's a really nice thing. And then the Giant Demon, or the Greater Demon, we talked about this, on the VC step up, they actually gave gave shards for it, which is something that had gone away for a couple months, even pre the announcement of Road to Worldwide. So it does seem like Gumi is doing some, strategic things to kind of, I don't know, give us what we were so vocal about. Is it partial walk back? How do you feel about those?
It's good to see that stuff come back, in addition to, the Viz stipend and so, a couple of the other things that they've been doing. Kind of a broken record at this point. Keep it going, keep the gifts coming in, keep the people happy. That's what you need to do. But still, like we've been talking about, just the stunning lack of packs. And at this point, it just seems like that's how it's going to be. Maybe outside of some huge anniversary events.
Yep.
So.
The lack of packs is staggering to me that still has it. I thought that would have been the first one to come back because that's the most lucrative one for them that they can get the most return on. So he's still very surprised on that. But at this point, I think the rage, if you will, from Road to Worldwide should be quelled a little bit, if only because they haven't been slamming things down our throat in terms of content to pull for. They really have still kind of staggered a couple things here. Yes, it's an accelerated timeline relative to what it should have been, but at the same time, they're now taking back some of these things they did. So we're kind of about even at this point. We're not in a better place. I think we're still about where we were. So that's why I say like that. I think discontent should sort of subside, but I still think there's a lot of reason to stay free to play because you still never know what the future could bring, and Gumi obviously has shown their true colors to it in a sense, if that makes sense too. So I could see if you didn't want to support it, I think that's still valid.
It almost seems like to me that I've seen discussions come up on Reddit and Discord like, how are we actually going to get caught up at this point? Because there's still a bunch of characters, a bunch of cards that we still don't have, and the end of September is 5 weeks away. So that is going to be a crunch. If they're going to truly get all of those things in the next month. So it almost doesn't seem like it's possible, but I feel like their strategy maybe is leave 100 cost or 90 cost weeks alone as a singular release. Maybe they're going to just crunch together the stuff that maybe is less interesting for people, like the 70 cost stuff and the vision cards, and just stack those up and overlap those banners. Could be, because that's the majority of what we have left other than Melnia and Elia.
Yeah.
So
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Their initial intent wasn't to get us exactly in step with JP. We were always supposed to be, at best, 2 weeks behind them. I think at the peak optimal, the way they phrased it, was like 2 weeks behind. It was more often than not going to be a month behind. So I think if you take that into context, I still think there's a room for them to fit everything in to remain a month behind JP. I think those saying that we're going to be live with JP releases are a couple days behind. That's not it, though. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we do have some, interesting new things here. They finally announced that new Elena card that we were kind of teased, if you will. And it's the Fundamental Forces. The kind of origin of this is an interesting one where in FFBE, she was originally a character born from a comic book. And it was the story of this like amazing hero of light. And that was really how it was pitched. And her nemesis was the comic book villain. And so this card seems to be a throwback to that, where she's not really like a living, breathing person so much as she is like this like hero in a comic book. So the art's very cool, very interesting, the jobs they put on there. Yeah, so we don't have the JB79 vision card slide yet for this. We'll get it, I'm sure, at some point. But yeah, a quick hit analysis. This does seem literally tailor-made for Elena, and I don't see any usage outside of it, quite honestly. And just kind of going through the process of elimination, let's talk a little bit about the card itself. What we know is that it's very likely going to be 24% evasion, 16 crit evade, and 35 slash attack. All those metrics, though, a little difficult to fit into a main slot vision card. You can do it, and for evasion, they're kind of the exception. But if you're narrowing down the fact that the evasion is really the big thing on that card, if you were to theoretically go through some of these elements of who's eligible, none of these units in fire, not a good choice. I'm going to do just process elimination. None of these units in ice, good choice for any of those attributes. Wind, no evade units here either. Earth, Resnick the Hoppy with a future 140, maybe. Lightning, not tuned for it either. Again, we're already like more than halfway through here. Water, Lara Croft fans, you got something. That's about as good as you get. I'm going to skip over light for a second and go to dark. Even on the dark one here, Prompto, awful. Joker, little power crap, this is not going to help him a ton. Venera, little power crap, not going to help her a ton. Which kind of circles us back to light, and this seems literally tailor-made for Elena and the light cast, where you have to run, let's say, Addison with Elena for the null sure hit. You can throw Locke in there, you can throw Lucio in there, maybe Sylvie. Like, that's really like the gist of things, and maybe you throw in Dwayne on the red mage side if you wanted a tank, and you can do the the sword red mage tank card. But even like, I don't know, that's Dark Bahamut, I'm sorry, for the light and dark res, for the AoE res. But yeah, this is Elena only from what I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much covered all of the, or most of the latest light units other than Stern and Bart's. But obviously, the glove is going to allow Addison to come in there because that is more or less one of the more popular evade combinations now is Addison with Locke and Elena. So yeah, I think that's fine. I don't know if that group is really competitive at the top ends. I think like it's kind of decent. It's pretty good, but I haven't seen it. It's not bringing back the heyday of that particular evade team.
No, not even close. I would say Elena's time is not gone, but basically gone. Very much more niche content for I don't even know what, but I've not seen an Elena in quite some time. And this is a fun card, I guess, and I think they're just throwing it in here as a fan favorite because she is a fan favorite to many, and just to kind of give her something. But I don't see it moving the needle for them.
The 24 of 8 is what we're predicting, just kind of based on any party effect that's been 20 generally on these cards in the past. They've bumped it up 20% to 24. That is a power creep for evade technically, because the highest that we've ever seen before is 20. So I just, again, I don't think it's going to be, a top ends kind of PvP build, but it's certainly, I think I agree. It's going to be a fun card.
Absolutely, for sure. And she's getting her MA2 as well. So, this is kind of the Elena week, and it's 10% magic. She's getting another 10 evasion, 30 reaction block. And just recapping, her 140 was some slash res pen, which wasn't a huge problem for light. 10% dark res, which I don't think was enough to meet the threshold of like the Sephiroth limit break. I think she still gets one shot by most of those interactions. And then her Tempered My Resolve got an upgrade where it gives her accuracy and crit evade. So I think the idea is to help her with the crit evade so she gets one shot less by things, but there's a lot of math to go on there to figure that out. I don't think it's really anything.
Yeah, I think that this was another one of those upgrades where they were reeling the character in who essentially ruled the game for, and on global anyway, ruled our PvP game for well over a year. So
Yep.
we saw that with the 140. It was lackluster. MA2 also lackluster. Is she better? Yes, but yeah, she's not going to be a top end unit with
No.
these upgrades.
No, and even Evade right now in general is having a tough time in the balance of the game. Forget even Elena herself. So that's kind of the double whammy that they're getting. Even like Fire Evade is very much beatable by a majority of things. It's not as scary anymore. And so when you throw in the fact that not only is she part of the evasion, but that the most popular element, Dark, can quite easily blow her away, I don't think there's a lot of breathing room for her.
I think we're seeing the effects of the top end tanks that they're just too much bulk there for these evade units to chew through fast enough to, like they have in the past, where that was kind of the evade units got in quick. They can take you down quickly, and even maybe if you lose one, you can still snowball it and pull out the win. But that's getting harder and harder to do with the Dialdos and Rafts of the world out there. So
Right. Yeah, those 3 turns of nullification of sure hit, those fade very, very fast. Or they fade in 3 turns, but you know what I mean. It's faster than people think. A lot of people think it's like,
yeah.
oh, free evasion forever, and it's no, no, no. They need to kill things in 2 turns, or else they're getting killed on that third rotation. But yeah, it doesn't seem like we're getting a global exclusive buff. I think we're probably done with that personally. I don't know if you agree or not.
I thought we were, but then they're still putting them on the vision cards. So I mean, I'm not gonna throw it out the window that maybe they would give her a little bit of global love, just because there are a couple of differences between, like her sword and ours, and that we'll get into, and then I think there maybe even be like some small differences in the abilities. I can't quite remember, but we'll see what happens on Wednesday. But I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Interesting. Yeah, but they're getting an upgrade to the Estrella Aurora sword as well, and it sounds like Globals is going to be different than JP's for the reason you mentioned that the sword is different. They got 15 accuracy added. They might do the same thing here. They might do something different. We really don't know, but I'm intrigued because that actually could be the other part of the power creep, where we've seen a lot of these weapons get very unique attributes for some of these characters, and that might be their strategy to go about it, where they don't want to buff the character per se. They want to entice you to use the weapon, which is a sort of handicap, if you will, where if you have a character that must use something in order to work, that process of elimination of not being flexible to use, let's say the Sword of Light, which has a ton of modifiers, there's an argument to be made to use Sword of Light instead, or maybe you use something like I don't know, the Genji Glove and go for the max damage overcap or something. You get the point. It handcuffs you a little bit, so that could be the way they do it.
I mean, they did it with Dwayne a few months ago, so maybe they'll do it here.
Yeah. And then this week we have a couple other new things. Some PVE things. I don't think any of these are exceptionally exciting, but we do have the Avian Hunt Quest, which is essentially the accessory like we got for the Beast Pendant and the Demon Pendant, which is just a ton of bird killer. Those accessories have been really valuable, but very, very niche. Really for just some PVE content when it comes to min-maxing and like soloing certain things. Obviously, I'm sure we'll do it and max them, but not a lot of hope there. And so we also have Porcelain Tower alongside the Spire of Ice. Obviously, kind of similar content, but both are rolled out together. I'm excited for that. They got the frost ring and all that. You working on that this week?
Porcelain Tower, definitely not excited for. I don't even know if we really even need to run it anymore if you've kind of completed all the rings. I don't think so. I think that's they've ended that and there's no more rewards for it. The new content for veterans is the Spire content. This is our second one. They mentioned there's like limited titles and things, and the scoring is a little bit more nuanced for this mode, which I found a little bit interesting last time, but I don't recall them ever actually giving out the titles last time for the Lightning. So
I never checked up on that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I know that I got an S run through that last time, and I don't have any Lightning, related limited title for it. So yeah, if Gumi's listening, give people their titles.
Yeah,
that the Frost Ring is coming +1. It's going to add a little bit more resistances, just like we saw with the Lightning Ring. So get some additional resistance. That's nice for those counter matchups.
Definitely. Yeah, just a little extra power creep again. It's one of those incremental things that those rings are very, very strong for the elemental battles, both for elements you're weak against and strong against, and that little extra 5%, it helps. Everything helps.
Yeah.
We also have Raid Revival on that note, and a lot of people love this. I mean, it's a great opportunity for new access to UR level gear and accessories, which many of them are top tier still, not all of them, but it's enough that you should still do it. There's still a lot of stuff to buy in the shop with the shards. Always appreciate it because it is soloable, so less reliance on the multi things. But if you can't solo it, the multi rooms exist, and it's still an opportunity. It's nice that they give you the opportunity.
Yeah, get your Alex rings and black garbs and brigandines and all that stuff.
Yep, definitely worth having 2 or 3 of all of those. So if you don't have 3 Alex rings, like you should have 3 out. I've used them. Same thing with the black garbs. I've used 2 of them in a party before for sure.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah. How about the Realmscourge event? I think you and I both finished that day 1. What do you think of that this week?
I liked it. I really want to see these become more regular, like once every couple months, maybe do something like this. It was fun getting together with some friends and trying to take down a tough boss. I wouldn't, once you kind of know the mechanics and kind of what he does, I don't think it was all that hard or difficult, but it was really fun kind of seeing people go back in and try different alternate units and strategies. And one thing that I was really impressed with was somebody figured out that you could get Liviel, the Earth healer, the MR healer, and get a poison off on the boss with the Dark Odin strategy. So
yep,
I went in there and tried that too. It was pretty fun. So
awesome.
Got some people some easy clears.
Yep.
So yeah,
very creative. Yeah, I thought the event was great. I would love to see more of them. I would question though, and I wonder like what's the goal of this kind of content? Because I'm sure everyone's doing it for various reasons. Some are doing it because they like the new social incentive to get with 3 friends and try to clear something tough. That's a good rationale. Second rationale, some just did it for the Viz raffle, which is totally valid. They're giving away a lot of Viz here. If you're in it for the Viz, that's also good, but obviously you're going to get a bunch of people to do it and then never think about it again. Or some people might like it for the challenge. And we've seen a bunch of interesting clears where people did like 4 Bradleys or like a Balo and a thing. So but if you do that and go for the challenge aspect, unless you're actively getting something every time you clear it, you really don't get anything other than the personal satisfaction that you did something on hard mode, which some people appreciate. So I think it's got to be, handled to say like which motivation are you trying to go for when you make this content? Because I think you have 3 very different kinds of players, but I think they should keep doing it. Even if they didn't change it at all, I still think it's a big thumbs up. I would like to see it enhanced to maybe address each 3 of those niches. But either way, great step. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some things that they might be able to do, like, maybe you can get like a title for each element that, maybe mono element that you go through.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to the elemental quests that we have for like brutal and EX stuff.
Even if you change the color on the title, like even if you change it to like green or red or yellow to indicate the element, that'd be great.
Maybe that gives people some incentive to try different units or different alternate strategies. And I mean, that's kind of the fun of it. I mean, if you're just kind of copying someone else's strategy, that kind of takes a little bit out of the wind out of it, but definitely want to see it come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good. Well, we do have some other things here too for selection quest updates. Minwoo and Veln are getting theirs. Minwoo's getting a couple upgrades here. 15% HP, 10 spirit. She's getting a Law of Invigoration upgrade where it's going to add 80% chain res. That's very notable. I still don't think it's enough to make Minwoo a character that's going to be used quite often in Fire, but still, for a free unit, for many people, that's still a really great buff overall. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that off the top of your head.
I mean, I think that the best thing about these upgrades is the free reincarnation.
Yeah,
Assuming that you dump in the statues and fragments and whatnot. But adding on, what is it, like maybe 1800 or 2000 HP for her, and a bunch of magic and TP and all that stuff. It makes her significantly more bulky, which her upgrades here are also doing with the HP and spirit. So she kind of has that role of being a little bit bulkier of a healer. I do actually really like that upgrade to Law of Invigoration, because that's her best heal. And if you think about throwing that onto King Mons, that's something that he doesn't have. So
right.
helps him be kind of a more full-fledged tank. So I like it. I don't think it's a top tier auto unit, good manual unit as she has been though.
Absolutely. And alongside that, Veln is getting that 140. She's getting 20 defense pen, 20 accuracy, and the Nighthawk ability is getting an upgrade where it's going to be a 25 unit res imperil too. Not the worst one. I've still never seen Veln used. I think the 20 def pen is kind of just like keeping her up to snuff. The accuracy is probably just like hedging a major weakness, so that's kind of whatever. And the Nighthawk upgrade, imperils are always nice. I will say that much. Imperils always have a premium. I just don't think that it's enough to ever make an argument why she would be in a party of 3. Party 5, PVE, sure, but that's it.
So Nighthawk for Lancer, that is their low AP ability. That's their lowest. I think it's like 15 AP or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's also their longest range ability at 5, and then it can also get higher if they're with the range height. So that's actually helps her a little bit with the AP issues of the job, because that skill is also like a medium modifier for her too, which is nice. I don't think she's a good PvP unit. She never has been, and this isn't going to bring her there. But it is a nice skill. She's a PvE all-star though, at least
Right.
for the lightning elements. And getting that pre-damage imperil there is going to help that situation as well. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of keeps her mantle there as a guild raid hero.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are a fair amount of other lightning units off the top of my head. I know like Esther notoriously was one, but no 140, so maybe power creep wise, Velen can outdamage her at this point. I don't know if the chains. Oh, the chains are there. Velen has triple hit, I think, doesn't she?
She has a double hit, but she can use the spear chaining card.
That's right. A holiday or whatever.
So,
Yeah. So overall, thumbs up for the upgrades here. I won't get to these immediately, but these are ones I probably down the line I'll end up doing at some point.
I'm still working on the last round of HS and Rafal, so
Oh, I didn't even do
finish
them.
them off.
I got half. I've maxed, or I didn't even max. I got enough shards to make Mirago 140. I didn't do enough to reincarnate him, but at least got the 140. I haven't even finished that one yet, though.
I got him done. I used him a little bit before Dialdo came in. He's good.
So the new limited guild wars this week is no cost restrictions, no nothing. It's basically just a regular guild war. We talked about that last week. Our thoughts on
Yeah.
that. But this map, this is a doozy of a map. This is one of the most complex guild war maps I think that they've ever released. There are a lot of pitfalls to this map where there's so many concerns with pathing. And let me just kind of zoom in here a little more for those that can see. I usually create these maps topographically to give an idea of like where units with a base jump can, or base move can walk between. So all these little black lines you're seeing are places where characters with a jump of 1 can't go through. So there's this like whole area kind of in the middle here, right? This like height 3, where because it's not traversable, a lot of characters, if you have like a tank on this side and you start on this side, you'll get into some weird pathing where like you'll start here, then you'll come back here, then you'll come over there, then you'll come back over there. Like you get lost on this map if you don't do it right.
Yeah, I've found, especially with the slot 3, it's most noticeable for jump 1 units. So yeah, the map in general is really not the greatest for jump 1 units. Like jump 2 is really shining here, at least from a mobility perspective. Whether those units can also put out the damage that you want, or have the abilities with the range heights is another topic. But because yeah, the terrain there also, if you don't have good range heights, that can also mess with you.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, just for context. So this is the map. I actually, just for like analysis purposes, if you did a version of this map with characters that do have jump 1, this is what it looks like for them. completely different map. Basically, the whole map is now traversable, with the exception of some of these like very small heights. And so you're talking about like night and day differences here for what characters can potentially do when you talk about getting from point A to point B. And I don't know if I've seen a successful like have to do this or not. I think the most success though I've seen is tanks being in slot 1. Um, just something about that area there because it's kind of pocketed. So like it's just a good way to like make people do weird stuff, and as long as you can maintain the hate there, I've seen the most success with that. But I've seen it everywhere. I don't know about yourself.
Problem is, like, if the tanks are mirrored or they're both in slot 1, whichever one is slower they get dragged along the bottom of the map. They don't.
Right.
I found that they don't go into the middle, so
Right.
they'll start like moving towards your other units,
Right.
and that's a big problem.
Exactly.
So yeah, I found that, like, testing, slower tanks, especially.
Definitely. And there's a bunch of tanks that do have some jump one abilities. I know Joom is one, Warrior of Light technically is one, Raph is one. Theoretically could get away with a Tourmaline ring, but for a tank that's a little risky because you're sacrificing some bulk for that. And I'm sure there's other tanks that I'm not throwing in the mix there as well. But yeah, it's definitely a big challenge. And ranged units, like missile units, tend to do very well on this map because a lot of characters move kind of haphazardly, that a lot of ranged units can just kind of pick them apart as they're trying to cross over. Yeah, I've seen a lot of things work so far.
I've had some success testing out fire as well, because if you have them both move into like King Mon in the middle, then they can all go right down the middle over those height 3 squares. So it makes it hard for the enemy to get to them there, with like a solid attack. So
And good point.
yeah.
King Mon being another. King Mon's got Shikuchi, so he's another valuable tank to add onto that list. So yeah, so our plan is we're gonna do a PvP here. I didn't think too hard about it. I took my favorite Guild War team that I'm running right now. Figure I'd run with it here. We'll watch it. We'll react live. We'll talk about the X's and O's and some of the rationale of what we did, and really get into some like snapshots of I don't know, strategizing here.
All right, here we go.
All right, got the recording going. Yeah, so the hope is we'll get to react this live, have some fun watching it, and we'll see. Oh, look at you with the hybrid team. This is going to be very interesting.
Got some Earth on Earth action going here.
Your Bradley's faster than mine. That's cool. Bow tie? Okay.
Yep.
It's funny. I'm the literal opposite. I'm move 4 on my Bradley.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Looks like you might have arithmetician skills off. He moved a long way for haste. I didn't think he would go directly next to him. Interesting.
Works out well because he usually can hit my Bradley, depending on the movement.
Oh, I don't normally get to see my Dialdo go right up the middle like that. He usually goes more to the left. But because you're also slot 2 tank, that's a little bit different than what I mock against typically. Nice, you got some good spacing going on here. You can see your Dialdo's got the extra move. There's the haste TMR, no surprise there. And you've got the bait on me. We'll see if I can chunk him down before things get too messy. Rulgia, can you do anything here?
What's Rulgia gonna do?
Not enough.
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I have a very interesting build with my Rulgia. Here comes Void
What is the
Crash.
chain damage gonna be here, though?
I don't know. Right, for the Earth, it's what, 4th or 5th? Not a lot. Not a lot,
Right,
but
Velas, give me the heal here.
I'm pretty well grouped up. Oh, you're still out of range. That makes sense. The bow tie kind of messing with you here.
Yeah,
But you got a ton of AP. That haste might run off. That's a lot of healing, though. You don't, though, but... Oh, you got a second buff off on Dialdo, so he's got a lot of hate going at the moment.
Yeah. I got my chain.
Okay. Take some of that. And I'm running out of AP here. You got that nice bait on me early. Not a lot of damage. Oh, of course he did.
Big.
Of course he did. My TMR ran off, so the reaction block is dead. I think you're winning this.
My Bradley is like in no man's land, though.
And your Velas is now standing still. Okay. Your Dialdo is... Oh, here we go. Honestly, I forgot what this limit break does. But it's doing nothing for damage.
No damage.
So I know Rugi's not known for damage, but he normally does more than this. Alright, haste remove buff.
Okay.
That's a good removal of the buff. Oh, we're starting to make some moves.
Okay.
I wonder.
fine.
I wonder if your Dialdo moves closer into me though. There we go. Return to nothingness. The spacing's pretty far out here. I don't know if Velos is in range to really do much. Oh, I'm
Oh.
so lucky.
Rugia hung on by a thread.
So Rugia normally gets one shot by everything, and I have him kind of intentionally designed that way. Oh, here we go.
Oh, you had no AP.
But you don't. Oh, but I have Courage still active.
Oh, how can he line that up?
CT up. I think you still win this. I think you have the sustain at this point is too much for me to overcome.
That's usually how this team does it. Because, like, Dialdo is so hard to take down.
Yeah,
It's garbage time. Velos is coming in.
Yep. There we go. Yeah, you know what? The extra move messed with me here because you got the good bait on me early for calculated rend.
Yeah, I'm running Dialdo with 4 move on this map.
Yep. Bam, and there it is. Nice. Well played. Okay. So let's. I want
The bow tie maybe was a little bit too much. Like but it ended up working out.
It
Still
did.
got three men standing.
It did.
So.
If I'm thinking of where your Bradley was, you're starting off, right? You're moving 2 slots at a time. And so if my Dialdo kind of like moves this way, and I think he moved into this height 3 zone, if I recall. In order for Bradley to get to him at this point, you can see he kind of like started going this way, and then he's like, oh no, I can't go all the way around. So he ended up like doubling back and kind of going this way. You got, I'll say like not lucky, but that can go really haywire sometimes. Because if my tank's down here, I've seen characters like really take the long way and get lost, and the game's over by the time they get there.
So what threw it off was the Rugia kind of moving into the middle there. Generally, that slot 1 would be moving towards Bradley, and on his 3rd turn, he can hit them.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's what kind of threw the AI into the no man's land zone there.
I love it. Well,
that's exactly what we were talking about. The jump 1 can be an issue sometimes. Thankfully, Dialdo and Velos had enough sustain that it didn't hurt me too much. So
no. And even just the tank positioning slots, like if we replayed that right now and we just like swapped tank slots, that'd be a literal entire different battle. You know, from start to finish, not even remotely close.
Definitely.
So a lot of RNG here. I don't think there's a best team, quote unquote, yet. Obviously, a lot of success just with Dark, just for how sound it is overall, like just statistically speaking. But even Dark has had to be a little outside the box from what I've seen in a lot of the builds, where I've seen Sephiroth with more like mass immune turned on than I normally do. Normally, that's like TMR, Wrath TMR and go straight. That's normally the Seph movement. But I've seen a lot of them here where, like, to avoid some of that backtracking, there's been a little more horizontal movement than normal. And yeah, I don't think it's the best team yet, but very creative things coming out here.
Ina in the slot 3 is a problem. I've definitely seen her movement in that slot 3 been all over the place.
Yep.
So that's one thing I've tried to stay away from.
Definitely. Good stuff. All right, well, we'll obviously try to build upon this. If you guys want to see more of this and how we can improve it, or really just any constructive feedback, this was kind of always the intention of the War Room, was to do more X's and O's, but we didn't always have the capability to go in depth as we wanted to, and we hope to at this point going forward.
And we'll keep the running tally. So currently JB1,
JV,
Will 0.
Yep. All right. So now the pressure's on. I like it. That's all right. It's okay. The only record I care about at this point is my WDL record. We're entering the playoffs right now. We're both prime to do some playoff stuff. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's we're both in the playoffs actually for WDL, so that's exciting. That things are competition level is really gonna start heating up with, presumably, all the best teams are moving on. So yeah, excited to get into that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, good. So now we get into the meat and potatoes here with the Leonis Spy Report. We have a lot of very exciting things. We'll hold off on Final Fantasy VIII for just a second because we do have Gryfford, brand new ice unit, 70 cost. They did give him a unique main job, which is obviously kind of cool to see. I haven't run him through my ringer of like statistical analyses yet that I normally do. I'll be honest, I don't always do that for the JP characters. I like to kind of try to stay current and just kind of keep the focus on the global side of things. So I've looked at the kit, not a ton of the stats per se. Did you have any quick hit thoughts just upon seeing this announcement, or just seeing kind of the tease of him?
So I know a lot of people have been waiting for this guy to show up. He's been kind of a fan favorite, including yours. I know that you brought him up a couple of times.
Yep.
So awesome that he's finally here. I was surprised to see him come in at a 70 cost, especially for ice, which I mean they did get Ravies. I mean not that long ago. It's been one of the more recent 70 costs anyway.
Yep.
Another ice slasher, very, very bulky though. He's got a ton of HP, pretty good attack. His agility is definitely lacking. He does have a passive though that he can bring in there. I do actually really like his TMR. It's another one of these like elemental counter TMRs like that we originally saw with Elena's TMR with the light dark, saw with Hio's
Yo, yeah.
and now Gryfford's got this one for ice and wind. So that's super cool. Those can come into play sometimes.
Yep.
The kits, this is a brand new job. It's going to be one that we're going to see kind of going into the future for future units. Pretty cool job though. He's got a select 2 on his job 25.
Yep.
Gets him some penetration, decreases CT by 25, so that's a pretty big decrease.
Yep.
He's got like some sustain with the absorb. It's got the big physical barrier. Yeah, pretty decent kit. I think some people have been seeing that hate on the job 25 too, and he's kind of like a pseudo tank. He doesn't have any initial hates, which I think is going to hold him back from being like a purpose-built tank. But maybe somebody that can throw you out like a distraction play in the middle if you're running like 2 bruisers or something.
So
like
that's exactly it. And I have high hopes for that. And I think that's actually the angle they wanted to go with Eld initially, with the limit break having the hate generation. Where obviously the idea is that like once you're in a fight, normally by the time you're at turn 3, turn 4, characters that have only 5 hate, that's gone after 3 hits. So at that point, it's kind of a free-for-all, right? And that's where a lot of things go wrong, where all of a sudden your healer gets hit and then they die and then it's over. So I like something like this where in the mid-fight, like once buffs have started to wear off or things get dispelled, all of a sudden he comes in here with an attack and increases the chance of being targeted. So that'll take 3 hits from an enemy. I love that because he does seemingly have some bulk to absorb it. That's one of the first checks that I do at this point. He's got 10 innate unit resistance. He does also have another 8 unit resistance on his weapon. He does also have 15 AoE res here, and he's got a very cool counter ability. 30% chance that when you attack him, he'll innate diamond AoE around him, increase AoE res of 40 for 1 turn. So it's kind of like the Grimoire Keeper in that it's a very short one, but when you figure that he's getting hit and he's going to draw that aggro, if he can suddenly boost up everyone's hate around him, I really have to kind of like check the math on these because sometimes like these sound cool and they just like don't work. But conceptually, I love the idea where he's got some of that elemental chain res, where he's got the initial hate, he's got some good unit and AoE res. He can get up to 80 elemental chain res theoretically with his buff here, and then in addition to that physical barrier, which again, take it or leave it, that can be broken by many meta units. I think an interesting thing here is the status effect angle where they do seemingly have an increased chance to proc sleep on targets, and not only that, but on the sub job here, the Strider sub, you also have a Frostbite access as well, which is a decreased healing power. So I'm still not really exactly sure which sub job I like most because I like the Strider. Unfortunately, they're missing the courage remove ability on the Strider, which is one of the best things, but I wouldn't sleep on the status effect if you're going 97 Faith. That being said, the Martialist too, you get some courage access there. Conceptually, even on the sub job here, this self-heal I think is really interesting. I could see opportunities where he would use that if you're going against like an evade team, or if people aren't in range and need some AP. We've seen people use these restorative abilities. Overall, I think it's a really creative kit. I think it's a good unit, and I actually like him a lot. That yes, Ice has some really good limited Guild War, like limited cost units already. Some of them though are slightly aging out. I think Nash is one of them. Very good tank still. Even Max Reincarnated, still very good, but slightly power crap, where again, her big thing was like the Saintly wall barrier and the courage, and now those can like get broken immediately. So there's some value things going on at the moment, but overall, love this character.
He's got 3 good jobs. So he has the Martialist and the Strider, which I think are both very nice jobs.
Yep.
The Limit Burst is insane with the 30 area resist and peril there on a 2-hitter. It's an
Awesome.
AoE as well.
Yep.
Got a lot to like here in the kits. I think for a 70 cost, I think I'll probably say that it's busted at this point for for that cost level. Like,
yeah,
he's got good stats to back it up, like pretty good HP and attack. So
yeah. And that's where I think that's going to come into it, where I would think Gumi's probably going to jip him on a lot of the other stats. And I remember this with Halloween Lucia, like her dexterity stats in the toilet. I'm sure you mentioned already his agility is kind of You know, I don't think that this agility passive is one that you'd likely have on most often, because I was kind of like mind mocking this, right? I would think you have to have on this one with the AoE res and the chain res and the HP, like at the minimum. I can't see where you don't have this on him. And then after that, I mean, I think you have your options of either one of two defense penetration options, but without these, he's got no other defense pen in the kit other than the Martialist sub with this attack. And I'll be honest, I don't like this ability. I can't remember who I was testing this with. The problem with this ability is they end up spamming this as opposed to some of the main job abilities. And I think the main job abilities are too good that you don't want to be spamming this. So from a defense pen perspective, I think it's tough to get the agility in there. So I'm guessing that's how they make him that 70 cost. He's probably terrible accuracy, if I had to guess. The crit evade's probably terrible, but he's probably got that HP and attack, like you mentioned, to make up for it.
So his dexterity is definitely not great, but he's got really good base luck. Like his innate luck is kind of like middle. It's like 244, but 191 base luck is very strong.
That is.
So he'll scale well with cards anyway.
Uh,
Just that Ice doesn't have any
I-
cards for it.
I
so.
was just going to say that. So that's their counteract to balance that. Ice doesn't have any 35% luck vision cards, so good luck boosting that up, other than Trust Stones, where you just go a luck Trust Stone set.
Solid unit though. Definitely worth. If he comes in on the 18K banner, I'll definitely grab him.
Yeah, excellent addition. Big announcement here where everyone is obviously very hyped for various reasons is Final Fantasy VIII, that they're releasing Squall and Renoa and Irvine, which I was shocked by, quite honestly. But let's go through these one by one. We can talk about Squall first. So on the subreddit, Mysidia Gaming, big thank you for him for putting this together. He was able to kind of do a Google Translate. Again, these aren't exactly perfect, but they're better than anything else I have at the moment, to kind of talk about the characters. And yeah, we have the three new of them. We'll start off with Squall here. What do you think about him with Lightning? And have you looked at the kit at all?
Just kind of what they teased. We have kind of limited information, but I was surprised to see him coming in as a lightning unit, just because Alaya came out recently and she's a bonkers damage dealer. So it seems we're still building up lightning here in 2023. So I guess that's the payback for getting a good water unit, is that you immediately have to go back to the lightning well.
Yep.
as they always like to do. So
water can't have a moment. No breaks for water.
I was very happy to see that his limit burst is a 4-hitter, because lightning does to date hasn't had any 4-hitter for guild raids. So that's gonna make him a superstar there for that format. Hopefully he has some other chaining skills to back it up. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for this guy. FF8 was one of my most wanted collabs out of the games they haven't gone to yet. So how about you? I know you're a big fan as well.
Huge fan. I have all the action figures right there. I think I have Squall. Yeah, I got him right behind me here, hanging out in action figure form. It was one of the first Final Fantasies. I literally bought it with Final Fantasy Tactics back in '98. And yeah, at first glance, I am surprised he's Lightning. Not terribly surprised. I predicted Fire. Personally, I thought he was a good fit for that. But at process of elimination after that, I think Lightning is conceptually a good candidate for that. Looking at the kit, I like the limit break. Again, you mentioned the 4-hit, the good old Renzo Kukin. I think that's a really cool thing. If you look at the rest of it, he does have this AoE here that's a giant apparent slash res imperil. Very intrigued on the percent here, whether it's 25 or 38, because most of the single target apparels seem to be 25, just kind of like a default. But many of the giant AoEs are 38%. When you think of like Katetsu on Gilgamesh, and obviously like Skahal comes to mind. If this is a 38% slash imperil on that diamond AoE, that'd be an absolute insanity. And they've given him a very unique mechanic of this like honeycomb barrier. And the concept is essentially that the farther away someone is, the less damage they do to him. Brand new mechanic. Think it's a really interesting concept where you talk about not only just like how you mitigate damage, where some people saw this and were like, "Ew, no courage, no re-raise, pass." And it's like, no, there's other forms of survivability. This isn't technically a barrier that you can break, so it's again kind of like a new mechanic. And I think the most interesting thing about this is what it does to the AI of how people attack him, where a lot of characters will stand at their maximum range and just do their normal attack. But if you can do more damage, and the AI will always prioritize more damage, you can force people to move closer than they normally would have to Squall in order to do the damage, which I think is a really cool thing to conceptualize. So I really like what I'm seeing so far.
And then the other thing that they announced in terms of Squall is that he is getting a vision card, and it's a lightning vision card, which I was pretty surprised to hear.
Yep.
That's our first, basically our first mono card this year.
Yeah.
The last one we got was, I think, Sorrow's card for fire at the tail end of last year. So very interesting. They over in JP they don't have a card for lightning, so they specifically said it's going to be a unit card, a unit resist card for the elements.
That makes sense. That is a very valid thing for JP to get access to a unit res card, and I can give them a pass on that. I was about to slam them for going back to mono element. That's an exception. That makes total sense. I'm cool with that.
When I heard that, I was like, what about the Esther card? Are they going to get Esther and her card? But I think that they will get Esther, and I think they're going to repurpose the artwork from that card into a job card.
Yep.
So
I can see that. Good. All right. Well, we can talk about Renoa next, who I know you're very, very excited for. Do you want to take the reins on this? Talk about Renoa?
yeah, so she is apparently going to be like a supportive kind of a healer kind of character, but she does have some offense there. Like her limit burst, which they show here, is a very long range diamond AoE. I think it gets up to a range of 7 there. They tease that it's going to increase her spirit penetration. So generally for the more supportive units, they don't have much for penetration. So that's going to help her out in that department. But yeah, Earth, obviously, one of the things they were lacking for it. Obviously, they have Galzak, but the abilities that they teased for her kind of get some Velis vibes because she has the haste, which hastes herself as well as her target, and then I think it also is increasing CT as well, or agility, or something like that.
Yep. So that's I'm still confused about the translation because it sounds
Yeah.
like it's both haste and CT. I would think that's broken. I don't think that's the case. I would think it's probably just a translation thing, but absolutely Velos vibes. You're right, and I love that they're adding it in here as a mechanic. It's about time a second character got that. And there's enough haste counterplay too that this isn't overpowered anymore. Not only are there TMRs that dispel haste, but a lot of characters also can dispel haste on their abilities or do extra damage to hasted characters. So I like that they're not afraid to touch this.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the actual fully translated abilities on WOTV Calc for this, because it almost kind of gave me like maybe a new take on a time mage vibe. Like if they were going to mix both haste and then maybe some kind of small CT boost. So yeah, it very well could be just a translation thing though.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But she does have this healing ability here, which seems to be very similar to Law of Invigoration. I'm hoping that this is going to be like an instant cast thing. It gets a large heal plus the agility up. And then the only other ability that they teased here for us was the Twin Strike, which is
It's a good one.
another, yeah, it's a select 2. I think is that a range of 6 or is it 5
It's a
there?
range of 1,000. I don't know what that is. It's enormous. Yeah,
I think
looks
yeah, select 2, and it's a guaranteed hit, which is amazing.
awesome.
Again, the more supportive units, they're generally at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to accuracy. So
I'm super intrigued to see the AI when this comes out. That's going to tell all. Where obviously she's teased as a support, so you would think she has a support AI. In a perfect world, she'll probably be identical to Velis. I think if you mirror his idea of like, you have a certain threshold, you have a limit of sorts on how many strong heals he has. After that, he goes into offensive mode. They have some overlap there with like access to Spirit Pen. Velis's limit break is 100% hit chance. So there's so many things that line up there. I'd be shocked if their AI wasn't the same.
yeah, it seems very much like it. We only are seeing 3 abilities here, and they're going to have a few more. So hopefully we get to a little bit more support than just the one single target heal. Hopefully she does have some kind of AOE heal as well.
Yep. Yeah, and the sub jobs they've given her Grimoire Master and Red Mage, so it remains to be seen, what she has for cast time and whatnot. Grimoire Master overall has been kind of hit or miss on many of these sub jobs, but she's a magic unit that may lean into that, so we'll see what happens.
Red Mage has always been strong to this day. It's got some good skills in there, like resistance break and jamming thrust. So
Absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. Very excited. I mean, I love this for Earth. I think it's a good ad overall. And
artwork is top tier as well.
killing
It
it.
looks great.
She does. And finally, the surprise here for me is Irvine coming in at a dark unit. Now, I immediately got PTSD Prompto vibes when I saw like a dark missile unit. I'm like, no.
Same.
We did this once. We did not again. I am still heartbroken. It's not Laguna. I was really confident it was going to be Laguna. And for no other reason than he is in Dissidia, the way they rolled this out was they had their main character, they gave him the enemy, and then when Dissidia Duodecim came out, the second game, they started peppering in like the second most popular characters. Laguna was one, and he's one of the most popular JP characters, which is why I was shocked from a JP perspective they didn't go that route. And I'm like, yeah, another great water unit. Like this lines up perfectly. They went, Faris, and now Summer Glassy, then they'll have Laguna. Like, this is good. Nope. Irvine, Dark.
I mean, you even have like Zell or Quistis. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, Irvine, I always liked him, but I didn't think that he was one of the more popular units. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Right, and I love him. I think he's my like third favorite character in the game, so I'm not like disappointed that it's him. I am surprised that it's him.
obviously they have like Selfie in there as well. I think is one that we saw come up in FFBE all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, we got two dudes and one waifu, so I think they're kind of keeping consistent with the Final Fantasy collabs. Have more dudes coming in for this. That's cool.
Yeah.
The confident sniper, I like it.
Right.
They talk all about his confidence here.
Right, which ironically is like his character flaw is that he's not actually confident. He just isn't this Rugia all over again? Isn't that like literally Rugia's shtick that he's like not a confident person? I don't know.
Hopefully Irvine comes in with some defense pen.
Yeah,
so it's not Rugia 2.0.
Definitely not. Now I will say this limit burst, I am very underwhelmed. I got to see the numbers on this. This is defense pen for 3 turns after a triple hit. It's a direct line range, so even then from a limit break perspective, kind of limiting. But as a gunner unit, I would imagine you could add on 2 extra range to this. I would think I'd have to see the defense pen number to really get a gauge on how strong that potentially is, because if that's his only form of defense pen, he's going to be Rugia 2.0. I agree. That would stink.
I'm not sure on the translation of the subjobs if it's actually Hunter subjob like Eliza, or if Hunter is actually Ranger, like being translated weird. That I'm not 100% about.
That's a good call.
But then Viking, we know, is like an awful job, so that's kind of rip.
Viking is literally for the passive, if I had to guess. That's usually why they throw those in there, is to give them
HP and attack.
Yeah. Which you're probably not going to have equipped, let's be real. But in terms of the rest of the kit here, they do give him a very interesting buff here, and I'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about the other ones first. A canister shot, as translated here, is a missile res imperil, kind of on a cross-shaped AoE. I'm obviously intrigued to see the imperil. I would have to guess 25%, but we'll see. The armor shot one here, it says that it decreases a target's attack resistance. I don't know if that means unit resistance here, because it's not translated the same as canister shot, but regardless, it does seem to be an apparel of some kind, which obviously, again, I'd like to see. But this buff, let's like focus on this for a second. This is another very unique one. This is a teammate buff, so he'll move and use to a teammate, and then as long as they're around him, again, one of those like aura abilities, if you will, whenever you or your teammate get attacked, you'll respond by doing damage, which is not similar to Bart's. Bart's is a follow-up attack to your teammates who attack, and this one looks to be a counter after you've been attacked by the enemy. This is different.
Yeah, it's another one where I don't know if we're getting thrown off by the translation here. That would seem weird to me, but also interesting. Something that, like, especially if you like could throw it onto a tank, and that could maybe get a lot of value.
That's right.
But yeah, the one before that though, with the attack resistance, I think that's definitely unit resistance. So
that's my guess.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how that actually is. If it's like another one, like exactly like Bart's, or if it's something a little bit different with the follow up.
Definitely. And if I had to guess, just from Irvine, I'm going to imagine that he is not going to be in mono dark teams. This strikes me as the kind of unit who you're going to see in more missile oriented teams, not necessarily rainbow per se, but we'll see what kind of overlap Dark has. I don't think there's any real like light synergy other than Jayden, but just given the fact that he's got these 2 different imperils, one being missile, one potentially being unit res down, in addition to some of these like ranged counter abilities, this strikes me as like a missile oriented unit. I don't think you're putting him in a dark teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Yumi, with the kits and everything, they are designing the units that way for more rainbow play with the type of imperils and the type of buffs that they're bringing in as well. You're seeing less like like light attack up, or kind of more like elemental centric type buffs for these units. Same thing with like the imperils. You're seeing less elemental imperils in some cases. He does have the job vision card that was teased. I don't remember exactly if they mentioned what if they teased any of the abilities on it, but yeah, they're kind of doing a little bit of buildup of the gun group. Obviously, we had Melania not that long long ago in her vision card. So here's another one to throw in there.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I'm glad they are, because both missile types have been slower on the job-based mission cards in terms of both gun and archer. So nice if they're getting some catch-up here for sure. Final Fantasy VIII, obviously a lot to still unpack. That's the initial hit. We wanted to go a little in depth on that. And brings us to finally the other new piece of content, which is the Ashes of the Apocalypse, which is a very interesting, I don't even know what you want to call it, just a new branch of lore, with the Warrior of the Crystals Part 3 being announced, and these Ashes Dark Knights, if you will, are the crossover into that. And we have to talk about the shadowy figure speculation. But yeah, so we got this silhouetted picture, and ignore the extra anime character here. That was, I can't get rid of that. That's how it was put on. But there's been a lot of hype with who these silhouetted characters are, and some of them look really familiar to the characters we know. So JB and I thought we'd talk a little bit about who we think they are. Do you have any thoughts on the Ashes of Apocalypse otherwise so far, JB, that I haven't touched upon?
So, I mean, I think the immediate one that everybody looks at is the top right, which looks like a spitting image of Dario, like down to the hair, down to the swords, down to kind of the armor and robe that he has on there. Aside from that, I was thinking the one to the left of Dario there definitely has like some Astrius vibes. So maybe that could be Astrius like before he got corrupted. I forget the name. It starts with a V. Vargia, I think, or something like that, is Astrius's like non-corrupted name when he was the Warrior of Light. So I'm thinking like this, maybe this whole thing could be like a timeline kind of thing where Lucio is seeing some vision of an alternate timeline where maybe Astrius doesn't become this corrupted warrior, and maybe that's him. I don't know what. How about you?
So my hope so far is, we talked about this last time. I despise is a strong word. I really don't like the Warrior of the Crystal storyline, because it's a complete parallel universe that seems to have no bearing on anything other than some Easter egg interactions with characters that really have no bearing on anything. I would really love for this to be a way to tie them into the lore, with the idea being, if this Ashen King, who is this silhouette down here in the bottom, very cool design, very like Elden Ring, dark vibes. If he is bringing people back to life to have like an undead army, I hope that's the angle this is. And my hope is that these silhouetted characters are ones who have passed. And so Dario comes to mind as being one of them. I think a lot of people try to speculate. My personal guess is, at the moment, for some of these others, I think this bottom right one is Shadow Lynx, personally. I know a lot of people talked about maybe being, it looks most like Liarte, but she's not dead in the storyline, so I don't think that's it. But Shadow Lynx, not an archer. The way I kind of approached this was, hair was my number one priority to match up correctly. Weapon was priority number 2. And so yes, Shadow Lynx is a dagger unit or a ninja blade, not an archer. But on her Shadow Lynx on ice, she does have a missile sub job, so that's my reach rationale. I like Ziza as the idea, being this bottom left one. Very similar artwork, flowy robes, very thin stature. The art, like, I think that one's perfect. Top left, people have mentioned as Sosha, which I agree, you have that lance in addition to kind of like this hair, which could be the helmet. Obviously, they're going for like some horn motifs, but it seems like a lot of the characters have hair that kind of flow like that. So I like Sosha as that idea. And my top middle one here seems to be another lance or a pole arm. I could see the case being made where maybe that's a mace or a staff, because we can't really see the head of it very well. I'm going to assume it's a spear for the moment. I think Serges is probably one of the top tier choices at the moment. He's just without his hat at the moment, so you're kind of seeing that like parted hair style instead. That's probably my best guess. Some people have thought Eld, but I think Serges might be a decent choice. And I'm at a complete loss for the other two here. I think this bottom right one could be like alternate universe Lucio. Maybe that's his backstory, that like he died, got split into two. Maybe they called up Nomura from Kingdom Hearts and made like a heartless and a non-heartless. Like, I'm gonna go there. Yeah.
The sword there in his right hand looks very much like the Lucio sword that's been
Right.
in some of the promotional artwork.
And the hair looks identical. The silhouette of the hair is like almost spot on.
Yeah. The one that you said is Sergis. The cloak there looks very Leonis to me, like with the kind of ruffle on the shoulders.
I agree.
So,
I agree with you on that. I just don't know if the armor here is 100%. Like, these are new outfits, I'm assuming. So if they're new outfits, that's where I'm giving some of the liberty. But I agree, that's definitely Leonis looking.
what about the Ashen King? Like, what do you think his deal is? Like,
I think he's new. I don't think he's anything. Like
Yeah.
lore wise, I think he's probably I don't know, man. Someone from the Void and some other random whatever. But I don't think he's anything important. But yeah. How about you?
It would be cool, like if he was like Gilgamesh, like an alternate timeline Gilgamesh that got corrupted somehow, and he's bringing back these dead warriors. Like, there's so many different ways they could go with it. That would be cool to like tie it into the actual story. Which I agree that the story thus far hasn't been super compelling for me. So that is immediately intrigued me to like tie it into the world that we know in Ardra.
Yep.
So yeah, I would love to see it.
Definitely. And it's going to kill me that I can't think of who this top middle unit is. I went through the whole like character, whatever, and I was really reaching. I'm like, number one, who wields a great sword? And even that hairstyle is not a popular one other than like Astrius in the character models that I really had to reach and think like maybe it's like, I don't know, Vistral, the light unit, like that's the closest hairstyle I could get because there's not a lot of others.
I saw somebody else on Reddit floated a pretty interesting theory too, that these are all like offspring of couples in the story. So the one that we think is Dario is actually Dario's daughter, for example. And the one that you were saying as Shadowlings is Balo and Liart's daughter, and then so on. So
Yeah, that's sick. I hope that's it.
yeah, that's another cool idea, like this future timeline where all the kids grow up and maybe we think this Ashen King is bad, but maybe he actually had some, good intention or motive.
There we go. So this is Moschery and Mont's kid here at the bottom then with the
Yeah,
Leonis cloak.
totally.
I like it. Oh man, good stuff. Well, either way, obviously a lot of excitement. If it turns out that they're just a bunch of new warriors of the crystals with faceless, nameless, random whatever, I'm going to be exceptionally disappointed. I don't think anyone's ever seen me this animated on our podcast before, but yeah, we'll see.
Totally. I'm excited to see what it actually ends up being.
Yeah, good. All right, and then finally, we do have a Q&A section. Part of this, we did want to go into the TMRs, but just for length of time and depth, we're going to go to another week. But we did have a Q&A for Brad Strong Earth on the Discord, who's so patiently been waiting for us to answer this. Thank you for waiting. The question is, what is the most overrated vision card? And this is obviously a tough one because how do you define overrated? A lot of the ones that I was looking at is just like, no, it's not overrated. It's just bad. I'll kick
Yeah,
this.
I was running into that same problem too.
I'll kick it off to you though. Do you have any that come to mind first as like overrated vision cards?
For me, I've always felt that Sephiroth's Vision Card Hero is overrated. It's not that I think it's a bad card. I think it's a fine card. It's a decent secondary card is what I've always thought it to be. But I see a lot of people main slot this card. I see a lot of people use it in parties where it's only really boosting up Sephiroth a little bit in his secondary. And I just think there are better things that you can do there. So that's kind of the one that I found.
Can I push back on that? So I'll give a counter argument why that I actually agree with. Out of all of them, I think that's probably the best. Let me just also compliment you on that. I actually do think it's a good candidate. I think Dwayne's vision card changed the value of this card. Because Dwayne is Sword Red Mage, because he has that AoE card, he also gets benefits from the hero card. So I agree from a main slot perspective, too many people put this in the main slot. And to that perspective, yes, overrated. And that's kind of how I think I defined it too, is that when I'm in like Arena or Guild Wars, which cards do I see people putting main slot? And I'm like, oh, why? That's a good barometer to go with. I agree. This one is in the main slot way too often, but new value with Dwayne.
Again, I don't think the card is bad. I use it. I've used it for. I think a lot of people. The big collab unit comes in. His card comes in. They think that's the one they got to use. I think you can get by without this card. Just being real.
I'm totally with you, and I agree. And just pulling it up here. And again, there's a lot of things to like that would allure people into thinking that. You get that 5% all elemental risk. It's the fastest your Sephiroth will be with the 8% agility. Obviously, the full value of the slash attack. That 42 really pops off to a lot of people. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of misleading things why people main slot this.
When you think about overrated, it has to be a card that a lot of people are using and have pulled, and maybe we're even excited about.
Yep.
So that's kind of my thinking here with this one. Not that I think that it's actually a horrible card or anything.
No, totally, and I'm in agreement. The way I tried to like funnel this down was also looking at cost. I started at 90 cost, and I'm like, are any of these cards like overrated in that they're not very good compared to usage? And my answer is no. These all are good in their own rights for various reasons for where I see them used. Then I went to 80 cost. I'm like, I don't think I see these I think Blossom in the Dark is just a bad card. That's not an overrated card. I don't think any of these are overrated. I think everyone perfectly thinks of exactly how good these cards brought me down to the 70s, right? So now we're here. I'm like kind of thinking through. One of them that stuck out to me was the Other Me, the Dark Fina card, because I think a lot of people, kind of the same reasons you were saying, think of this as the Dark Fina card. They see the 10 AoE res, obviously really good. They see some good things here for Fina with the magic, and even from like that, again, big number, like, ooh, very shiny, pretty, 50% magic. I see a lot of people main slot this, and I don't think Fina is good enough to main slot this in lieu of something else. And even the missile res, obviously niche to what you're seeing. The dex of 18% is okay, but not nearly as strong as the 35% dex. So even in the main slot, this isn't like overwhelmingly good. That I think this card, I think I see some people, particularly now with the dark meta, using a little more prevalently. And I think a lot of people think of like Raft too. And they're like, oh yeah, no, Raft can use this card. Like, dude, Raft's damage is awful. Do not use this card for Raft's damage. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I can get Wrath some spirit penetration.
yeah, yeah. So I think this is probably my overrated, but I agree. Your hero one is a really good one. I have cards that I'm disappointed in that I overrated, but from
Yeah,
the
that's the thing. Like the other ones were stuff that, yeah, like they're just kind of maybe lower tier cards.
yeah. All right, so I think that's our personal answer. Again, it's really in the context of what we see used. That's a different conversation than like where were we wrong on estimating how good a card was, but yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, like the cards that aren't really performing that well are just thrown to the bottom of the pack, and you don't see them used all that much. So
Yep, definitely. So good stuff. All right, well, that's everything we had to cover. Obviously, a very thorough, long podcast, a lot of different topics to go over, but it is an exciting week, at least from the perspective of a lot of new stuff coming out on the JP timeline that we know we're going to get sooner than we're used to in the past, for better or worse. We'll see how they unroll that in the road to worldwide. But keep submitting those Q&As. We're obviously looking forward to that TMR review. But yeah, that's it for me. JB, any final thoughts here?
yeah, I'm very much anticipating the WOTV calc drop for FF8, because when you think about it, this is probably going to be our last glimpse of a big collab coming in with at least a decent amount of foresight. We know we'll probably have at least a month, if not a little bit longer, before we get it. So that's something that's going to become more regular and something that we have to get used to as a player base, trying to judge these units in a bit more real time, a bit more spur of the moment. So we'll get our first hand of that.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all soon.